Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to the Starcraft 2 Own It Shack. It is David here bringing you Master League Quest episode 33 after a 1-month hiatus. I am so sorry I haven't been able to put out an FPVOD in such a long amount of time. Unfortunately, this semester turned out to be even worse than first semester. So with a little rescheduling, I'm trying to work around that somewhat, but the main point is it's going to be... The outlook on my VODs is pretty grim for the next 2 months or so. After that, should be pretty much smooth sailing for an entire summer. Really going to devote myself to getting into Master League at that point. Right now, I'm just sort of training up, trying to get back to where I used to be before this very, very long extended vacation from the game. Once again, I apologize for that. And just to clear this up, there's absolutely no intention of me whatsoever to stop running the channel. That's not what this is at all. I know I have received some messages about this. Nope, that's not happening. Don't worry. I promise you this is only temporary due to school taking priority at the moment. So, now that I have that sorted up, I would like to just take this time to explain some things about this particular game and the state of Starcraft, my opinions, etc. So, first, right off the bat, this is Entombed Valley. This is one of those maps that came about in Season 5, I think. It was one of the new maps introduced. And I've been seeing it used in the GSL, and as a result, I have a little more familiarity with playing on this map than I do on others. So this map is back on the roster for me, as well as, of course, those 2 beautiful new maps that Blizzard has introduced. Obviously, Blizzard didn't make them, that goes without saying. They believe that they were the Team Liquid map-making contest winners. It's Cloud Kingdom and the other one I can't really remember the name of. But they look really good. Cloud Kingdom, of course, used in the GSL. Really excited to finally play some games on it. As my opponent has just said, Ninja Falcon here. It's pretty balanced. I have to agree with that. And the other one is also one player, like Cloud Kingdom. So that's always, I'm always a little skeptical about not one player, but 1 versus 1 maps in general, because they do tend to be smaller. But, I'll give this one a try and see how it goes. Anyway, so Shakur's Plateau has been vetoed since my other veto doesn't need to be vetoed anymore. It's Zelnaga Caverns. It's now out of the map pool, I believe. So that is no longer on my veto list. And in case you're wondering, I vetoed that because of all the Roach and Baneling all-ins I faced there. So, anyway, my strat here is going to be the usual mech build. I Am Happy's mech is typically what I go for, although I have been sort of varying this up to be a little more safe. There was a period of time where I lost a bunch of games using this build because it is quite greedy. So I, of course, being an adaptive player, I'm going to be changing that up. I'm going to be getting an early siege tank with this build so that it's a little more safe against any Roach or Baneling openings that my opponent might throw at me. So that's the plan here. Now, on Entombed Valley, it's very easy to take a 3rd base, so I'm going to try and work towards that. You're going to see the transition into my 3rd isn't the smoothest thing here. Of course, like I said, there was a 1-month hiatus, so a lot of stuff is going to be super sloppy. And if you could point that out to me, I will graciously listen, because I'm well aware of the fact that my play is definitely diminished below mediocre at this point. I am no longer what I would consider a polished and refined player, not that I ever really was, but it's definitely gotten worse when you haven't played for a month. The first few games are pretty rusty. As you can see, I even start the wall in the wrong place, so definitely not off to the greatest start. But so far the build has been pretty crisp. Not to say it stays that way, of course. So a few Marines coming out right now. I usually go up to 4 Marines, as you can see there, before getting that reactor on that barracks, as well as making my 2nd factory. So a 2-factory play, it's definitely pretty awesome. It's always a great way to start if you want to go for a mech late game. And yeah, so there goes that 2nd factory, as you can see. So a little bit of pleasant banter with my opponent at this point. Just giving him the old XD as my approval of his Zergling not getting into my base to scout. Definitely don't want him seeing 2 factories. It's not really that... It's definitely counterable, I'll put it in that sort of fashion. So I'll float that natural down there. Another thing I've changed with this build is I used to just build it at the natural. That's a little bit greedy, so I've been building it on the high ground. since I lost all those baneling buffs, and it's been working out for me pretty well. So one barracks expand into double reactor Hellions, or sorry, one reactor Hellion with the tech lab on that barracks. No build order is going to be posted today because of how sloppy and unrefined this really does get past this point right here. So tech lab with that barracks will be used to swap for my factory. That factory, as I said, it's going to be used to make a siege tank as well as blue flame or infernal pre-igniter. So that'll be pretty nice. As you can see, get the siege tank out first just in case. He does try to scout again, but if you catch that, you can definitely deny it. So I've also got an armory on the way here. That's for some fast upgrades. That's what this build revolves around. It's basically an upgrade-centric build. You want to turtle into 3 bases and then use your very immobile but highly defensive force to secure yourself 3-3. And when you push with high upgrades against a Zerg force, they really do melt quite a bit better than they do without them. Especially the siege tanks versus roaches. It really becomes quite grim for the Zerg player after you have that +2 attack upgrade. And the armor. Man, if you went mutas and you have armor for your Thors, Magic Box really doesn't work as well as it should. Speaking of Thors, I do want to actually point out something. I'm sure many of you are already aware of this, and I don't know if I voiced this already in previous casts, but Blizzard does plan to remove the Thor in Heart of the Swarm in favor of a much more versatile unit called the Warhound. And I have to say, oh, by the way, nice catch there on the 3rd base drone. It is what I was looking for with those Hellions. So the Warhound has some potential, in my opinion, that the Thor really doesn't. And let me explain. So the Thor, I think they're taking it out because they don't like how the splash damage works against mutas. It's really powerful in some cases, and in others it just sucks. It's kind of, honestly, to me the Thor seems like a gimmicky unit. If you lose a bunch of Thors, the game's pretty much over. The Warhound looks like it's going to be a lower supply unit, almost a replacement for the Goliath. And if that is the case, which of course doesn't look like it's going to be an exact replica of the Goliath by any means, the Goliath was definitely a better unit. If that's the case, I do foresee Mech being extremely good against Protoss, or at least viable in this new Heart of the Swarm. Because when you combine that massable anti-air, not targetable anti-air like Thors are, you can just target them one by one, with that massable anti-air force that's actually good on the ground, because right now you're forced to get Vikings to deal with Protoss air. With that, I really feel like Mech could have some viability, and with those Battle Hellions soaking up the damage way better than Hellions did, because Battle Hellions will have higher HP. I think that this whole Colossus counter to Mech might just fizzle out. Especially, I mean, the Warhound's going to be great against mechanical units like the Colossi, and if it has a decent range, you know, I truly foresee this being somewhat of a playable situation. Obviously, there's no way to tell, but I promise I'm actually going to try my hardest to get my hands on a beta key if I'm able to. I'm not sure if it's going to be an open beta or not, or if they even give one to me. But if I can get my hands on the beta key, I will be experimenting with this non-stop during the summer, just to try and sort of determine if this is a viable strat, and I'll definitely post those for you guys. So that's my plan right now. Just thought I'd let you know that. I do feel extremely excited for Heart of the Swarm, despite there being no release date yet, and I really think that removing the Thor is going to actually help Mech a lot more than hinder it. Those Warhounds, if they are like Goliaths, man, I definitely see some potential here. So back to this game. As you can see, I've now secured that 3rd base. I put a Thor there just in case he went mutas. Although, I believe... I'm going to try and scout with these Hellions, but I can't really remember if I came up fruitless. Anyway, Ninja Falcon, he's a very talkative opponent, as you can see. He really likes to comment on a lot of things, voice his opinions. As you can see here, his opinions start to get a little bit more... you know, a little bit more brusque. They're definitely getting more offensive at this stage in the game. And you know, I'm still humoring him right now. But yeah, he's not trying to be BM, so we'll just let it slide for now. So I'll be taking those gas, obviously with Mech. Gas is pretty good. I also type out my channel. I actually, because he was confused about my mech play, I just assumed that he wasn't used to facing something like this, so I referred him to this channel, because obviously I play a lot of heavy mechs, so, you know, I thought he might be interested to see what that actually looks like. Because obviously pros mostly go for a Marine tank in this matchup, and almost exclusively for that bio play when it comes to TVP, so. Anyway, a little supply block there. Like I said, things are rough when you haven't played in a month. This is actually my second game since I did take that hiatus. So I've also got a starport here. The starport was supposed to be for a Blue Flame Hellion drop, but I completely forgot about it, and I didn't have really the APM anyway. So I decided to just turtle up some more. As you can see, the upgrades are now coming twofold. I have a second armory now, and that's really, I think that's pretty key, because the second armory actually allows you to get the double starport upgrades immediately after your 3-3 is finished. And I do scout that roach. Oh, big mistake. What I should have done is actually click on it to see where his upgrades were. This is an important fact, actually. So if you click on that roach and you see that he has range upgrades for it, then you know he's committing to roaches, and you don't have to worry as much about mutalisks, because they're not going to have their upgrades when they come out, if he has any at all. So that means you can commit more to siege tanks. Unfortunately, I neglected to do that right there, so that is a blunder on my part, and it will cost me, you know, a little bit extra DPS that I could have had without adding in all these Thors. I did do that move out just as a measure to sort of force him into more units. I've seen a lot of pros do this strategy, and it's quite nice. When you move out across the map like this, they see you at the Zolnaga Tower, as you can see. And my hope is that he'll make a nice round of units. Now, I didn't check the replay to see if that's the case, but as far as I know, that's good play. That's considered good Zerg play to make units when your opponent looks like he might be attacking you. So then I do wait until I get my reinforcements, because that first sort of squad of units that I ran out with was just, it was kind of weak. There's only 130 supply, and now I'm almost maxed. So I'll be sieging my tanks up in a nice position here while I sort of attack his fourth base. And another quick thing to note, you'll notice that I've started making missile turrets, and I've pre-made Vikings. That's simply to counter the Broodlords that I know are coming, because I did scan his hive. So with those turrets there, I'm protecting myself against a big burrowed roach attack. This is something I've lost to very, very frequently. A bunch of burrowed roaches suddenly unburrowing beneath my siege tanks while I'm macroing at home. This is a game changer. You'll lose instantly if you don't catch it. So if you make turrets while you push, not only are you protecting yourself against this, you're also adding any extra DPS against mutalisks. And typically when I play this strategy, mutas are the strategy of choice of my opponent. It's almost exclusively muta that I see versus mech. And I have to say, it's a good way to play, but in some ways going for roach drops with infestors can be quite nice as well. And that's what I'm assuming my opponent has done at this point. Also, that fourth base did seem a little bit on the late side, so I now start scouting the map for any possible hidden expansions. You can see at the top left of the mini-map, I already have a Hellion patrolling just to make sure. And I'll start sort of pushing towards him while I finish off those upgrades. 3-3 should be on the way right now, because I do believe, yes, I do have 2-2. I think I just checked that. And with this fourth base now up, I can get some pretty decent income going here. Now, another thing I was late on in this game was my orbital commands. I did neglect to build those extra command centers for the mule drops at this point in the game. And that's unfortunate, because I do get mineral blocked in a short while here. Also, I have unfortunately neglected to build more factories, so my remax is not going to be as fast as it potentially could be. Also, I've left a bunch of SCVs on one patch, quite ineffective. And like I said, he does get more talkative as the game goes on, so you're going to see some pretty interesting comments coming up here. I know that some of you guys are quite partial to a nice BM game, so I thought I'd, you know, indulge your request right now. I know that they're always popular. Everyone loves a Rager, right? I certainly enjoy playing them much more than well-mannered people. It really does add to my enjoyment and amusement of the game when I see people getting so very upset about, you know, a leisure activity. Now, I did scan his infestors, so I decided to throw up more Ghost Academies, as well as those factories I should have thrown up earlier. And the ghosts are going to be they're quite key when you want to, of course, EMP his infestors, or snipe while you still can before the nerf all those broodlords or ultralisks. Now, also, you can see starting the siege of my turret line. So right now, as you can see, I sack my APM in order to split up my Vikings. This is a very basic technique you can use before you have ghosts out in order to completely negate his fungals. He's going to have to use like 20 fungals or something in order to kill all those Vikings. And he knows that, so he calls down the infested Terrans, as you can see. But those get shredded by the siege tanks, and without, any corruptor support, he really is sitting ducks here to my Vikings. I make the mistake now of clumping them, and I get a little greedy there, trying to go for those extra few kills on the broodlords, and I do end up losing my Vikings as a result. But I feel like I've done enough damage right now. He's still contained to 3 bases. So I feel pretty decent about my position in the game, and I push forward a bit more, sieging as you go. But as you can see, my remax didn't come as quickly as it should have. I don't know if my macro slipped here or if I didn't have enough factories, but it's probably a combination of both, to be honest with you. And so I lose a little more there than I should have. Now I still have 5 Thors left, and without my Vikings being properly rallied, I am a little susceptible to mutas or broodlords at the moment, so I have to send those up immediately. Also be getting those ghosts now, I think, as well as the upgrade, building armor, all that good stuff that you do need at this point in the game. I'll also build those extra bases, but what I should have actually done here is go ahead and build those extra orbitals first. So as you can see, the questions do continue, and I'm not sure if this is the... Yeah, this will be the last time I respond to him, I think. It does get pretty... It gets pretty amusing from this point on. And when someone's putting on a show, I don't want to interrupt, right? I just want to be a spectator. So, anyway, does continue here with some nice upgrades. Like I said before, that double armory does help you get those starport upgrades fast. And when he is going for broodlords, having that does actually aid you quite a bit. It's extremely helpful. So in this map, it seems like the basic idea is to just siege up the middle and turtle until you can definitely kill this army 100%. And that's basically what I'm doing right now. I know I'm ahead, but I don't want to throw away the lead by just, clumping all my Vikings into his infestors or something like that. Like, these are just silly mistakes you really, really don't want to have happen to you. It's just unfortunate. So he's going to charge in with his roaches, but the 3-3 tanks are just doing terrible, terrible damage right now. Just absolutely massive amounts of devastation going on. And when the infestors come up, that's typically when you want to pull back the Vikings, just in case he gets a lucky fungal off. You really don't want to lose them all. Now it's debatable whether I should have unsieged right there, but definitely could have helped. Regardless, it is what it is. He just bludgeoned my army with units that he probably shouldn't have wasted right there. So far, I'm going to just go ahead and say this is really his loss more than my win. There's nothing I'm really doing here that's helping me win. He's just giving me free units at this point, and that's really what's helping me get ahead. I'm definitely not under the delusion that I'm actually playing well here. This is rusty. Really quite abysmal play by any standards, really, not just my own. So I'm going to continue to make that nice max there. As you can see, I'm not even close to max, but none of my factories are building anything. This is the kind of mistake that I've been telling you is really prominent in my play right now. It's just sloppy stuff. And hopefully I'll weed this out with more games. Like I said before, right at the beginning of this cast, I'm working around my schedule to try and actually devote time to playing and training. Yeah, instead of actually watching VODs for 2 hours or so a day, I've begun to try and just get in a few ladder games in that time. And I think that's probably a good idea. I still watch VODs, when I eat a meal or something. But overall, I think that you're definitely going to get better by playing a few games than watching only VODs for an entire month. I think that most of you will agree with me on that one. So more factories should be going up relatively soon. Yeah, there they go. I do put them down over here. It's an unfortunate circumstance that on this particular map, the main base is extremely tiny. You're very space limited. So factories do have to be placed outside of that main base eventually. Once you reach about 7 or so, it's just not economical anymore to put them in there. Units are getting stuck. It's just really an ugly situation. It's one of the reasons I'm not overly fond of this map, even though it is obviously quite a fair map, it seems. Now the ghosts are coming out full stream at this point. Also going to try and clean up those Zerglings. And with Ghosts, Viking, Thor, there's really only one thing left to do right now. And that's go for nukes, but I'm not going to do that this game. When I was actually at my prime in mech, I did go for nukes. You can check out those VODs, are probably like 7 or so episodes ago. And that was pretty effective. Avillo does a lot of that, and if you guys don't know Avillo by now, please check him out. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. Really the only stream I consistently watch, aside from maybe Artosis. So my ninja assassin here goes in for one last attack. Not really that ninja-like at all. He just runs in with his roaches, but with those upgrades, it's really not effective at this point for him to be doing these kinds of attacks. So most of the roaches die, or actually all of the roaches die, and a large number of my tanks die. But this is pretty much the point where I'm like, okay, I can go threaten his 4th again. And so I'm going to push up there. He's left a turret there accidentally. So I'm going to siege up just like I did, 15 minutes ago in this game, and really try and just end this thing. And you'll notice that he is actually commenting on how long I'm taking to finish him off. And this is deliberate. Please don't think that I'm actually toying with him here. This is simply me just playing as safe as possible. Especially against a BMer, you never want to throw a game by accident. It's just the most awful feeling. I mean, you really are denying yourself the pleasure of beating someone who's insulted you this many times. And it's a great feeling to do that, so I do recommend always playing super safe against people like this. You never know what tricks they're going to have up your sleeve. So he goes ahead and does the old Pausarama. Probably misclicked on the surrender button. And this was actually my placement match. So as you can see, I've been placed back in a diamond. No surprise there. Unfortunately, I did lose all my bonus pool from Season 5, which was quite a considerable sum. So I'll have to start over on that. But there you go, my first win against Ninja Falcon. And yeah, first win, first bad-mannered opponent. Hopefully there will be many more in the future to amuse you guys with. I really hope you enjoyed this cast, and I'm sorry I couldn't give you better play. But anyway, that's all for now. Enjoy the rest of these stats looking up, and join me again for the next episode. See ya.